Hey, how's it going, friends? Hohem just sent me the iSteady Mobile, and it's very similar, as you can see from this shot, to the iSteady Pro, which is for GoPro and other action cameras. If you've seen my iSteady Pro video, which I released like right after I got the Hero 7, I love it, and I loved it so much that I got rid of all my other small gimbals, whether they're for phones or for GoPro. I still use them for GoPro anyway. I don't really film with phones. I will today for this review, but I got rid of all my other gimbals because I found the perfect one. So this gimbal will handle almost a ½ pound, which should be good for even the biggest phone. I'm going to be testing it with an iPhone SE because that's what I have. I don't upgrade my phones too often because I don't really use the camera on the phone that often, and that would be the only reason I upgraded. I use a phone until basically it stops working. So I apologize for that, and the reason being it's not the heaviest phone in the world, but the catch here is I am going to be testing it with the GoPro on a GoPro plate adapter for a phone gimbal with the extra weight of the mic adapter, which isn't that heavy, but all combined it's probably heavier than your average, you know, iPhone 10 or X or whatever, or your big Samsung phones. So it's probably more weight than you would be using with a phone, and we'll see how it does with that. Just like in this video here, which is a Moza gimbal, it's roughly the same location, so it's pretty much the same assembly. So you can screw in your little 1/4-20 to 1/4-20 and then screw in your mic with a ball head and position it pretty much however you want. And I have it leaned up here so I can have a little bit of slack in the cord, which I'm thinking maybe it should be a little bit longer of a cable, but it's not. I would probably say maybe 6 to 8 inch cable so you don't have it tugging on the gimbal while it's trying to keep your footage stable. So what I'm going to be doing outside is walking and running, my normal gimbal stuff, and I'm going to use it first with my iPhone, walking and running, talking, vlogging, jogging and vlogging, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the GoPro to see how it handles more weight, and I'm going to try and balance the GoPro assembly the best I can. I'm not sure whether it's gonna like really balance out. It's kind of tilting to the one side, and maybe if I just move the plate out a little bit, it'll balance itself out. We'll see. So let's get started. Okay, now I'm on the iPhone, and luckily the gimbal part isn't showing up for selfie mode. Of course, I'm using the back camera, so it's better quality. So the audio isn't gonna be, well, I'm just assuming the audio isn't gonna be as good, but we'll see. And hopefully the phone isn't picking up the vibration of the motors. If it's not, that'll be amazing. That'll be great. So I'm just walking up the street right now. So I think I'm gonna run through the woods here, this short section of woods here facing me, and then on the way back facing outward, so you can see if there's any jitters or shakes or anything like that. So how did I do? There should be a pretty good jerk there. If there's not, then this is one amazing gimbal because I jumped over this log here. And even though I haven't seen the footage, I am watching the phone and the gimbal moving and counteracting every little thing I do, and I think it's doing a great job. You're currently seeing the video, so you know better than me at this point. Now I'm just going to do a few gimbal moves. I'm going to do more with the phone than I did with the GoPro because it's actually intended for a phone. So I'm going to do some high and low stuff and some jerky motions. See how it handles it. And now I'm gonna run down the street. I'm gonna run on a smooth surface, just in case it doesn't do well on rough terrain, which is really rough terrain. And we're back at the studio, and luckily none of my neighbors are out to think I'm nuts, even if they are looking out the window at me. They all know what I do. Let's be real here. So right now I'm on the GoPro, and it seems to be handling it pretty well. This gimbal does handle almost half a pound, so it shouldn't be an issue with the aluminum plate and the GoPro and the mic adapter. Because it's still not half a pound. So I'm just walking up the street. It's pretty sunny, so my highlights might get blown out, but we're looking at stabilization right now. And of course the hyper smooth stabilization is off on the GoPro, so it is what it is. It's all the gimbal doing the work right now. So now I'm gonna run, probably run across here. We'll see how it handles it. It might be a little wobbly. We don't know until we look at the footage. So I'll have to review the footage, but I'm gonna say this. I noticed it dipped down a couple times. Again, it's not meant for GoPro, but it should be able to handle it. Maybe it has something to do with my cord. Maybe I need a longer cord. It seems to be, there's plenty of slack. I switched around so I could have more slack on the cable. I would safely say that if you want to use a GoPro on it with the plate, you'd be safe. You just have to figure out how to rig it up right. I'm gonna run on a little bit smoother surface. I'm gonna run on the road. Again, not everybody runs with their gimbal or their camera, but if you're kind of the person that jogs and vlogs, this is going to be useful information. And I noticed it didn't dip quite as much. It's probably my heavy footing, because through here, as you can see, not the smoothest surface. The ground's soft. There's leaves, rocks, bumps, everything like that. So without making excuses, I will say that it does dip down a little bit. However, if you use it with the GoPro plate without the mic, without the cord hanging down and interfering with things, or use a longer cord, maybe longer by about 2 inches, 4 inches, something like that, you shouldn't have any problems. The only other cord I have is like 10 feet long. That ain't gonna work. I would trip over it. So my impressions of this gimbal are nearly the same as the iSteady Pro, though I love the iSteady Pro. I loved it enough to sell off all my other tiny micro gimbals, and it's been very reliable. For almost a year now I've been using it, and I typically use it for like panning type shots, because the GoPro has the hyper smooth stabilization. It does a really good job all by itself, but there are certain situations in low light, and if I'm using 120 frames per second or even higher than that, the hyper smooth is off, so I'll use the gimbal. Even though super slow motion, you don't really need a gimbal, and this performs very similarly with the phone on it. Not as well with the GoPro, but then again, it's not meant for the GoPro, it's meant for a phone, and I accept that. So now I have one for each, and I will definitely be keeping this gimbal. And I'd like to thank the awesome people at Hohem. I am a long-term partner with them now, So that's a great new thing for this channel. And I hope in the future that I get an even bigger gimbal from Hohem, because I really like big gimbals, really like testing them out. And so thank you. So thanks for watching this video. As usual, in the description and in the pinned comment, there will be links for everything you see in this video. Please subscribe and tell your friends. And remember, create, share, repeat, and keep it awesome. I'll see you next time.